if you're encouraged by all that to go out and buy a Fabric, please don't try to emulate John Howden's antics, particularly on the public roads. Now, all the figures suggest we have some of the safest roads in Europe. But obviously, there's still a great deal of room for improvement, particularly when it comes to training novices. Indeed, this is one of the ideas being sponsored here at Brands Hatch. Their early drive scheme takes youngsters under 17 and teaches them how to handle a car before they venture out onto the public road. And now the government wants to make this sort of scheme compulsory, not for car drivers, however, but for motorcyclists. And Tom Boz has been looking at this and other government schemes to make for safer motorcycling.
Motorcyclist casualty rates are the highest for any type of vehicle. The government claims that compared to car drivers, riders are 8 times more likely to be involved in an accident and 40 times more likely to be killed or seriously injured. In an attempt to cut the accident rate, the government is looking at radical changes in motorcycle training. Next year, training like this will become compulsory and will be known as basic training. Before a rider will be allowed on a public road, he will have to achieve a level of competence at an approved training centre, and only then, when his licence has been validated, will he be allowed to ride his machine on the roads without supervision. These rules will also apply to the car driver who wants to drive a moped. At present, he doesn't have to take a test. But what does affect the learner motorcyclist now is the introduction of a new test. From this week on, the examiner, instead of conducting the test on foot, will accompany the candidate on another motorcycle. This, says the Ministry, will give the examiner a clearer picture of the candidate's riding skills.
Jim, take the next road.
A radio receiver attached to the candidate enables the examiner to stay in touch and pass directions when out on the road. This new test has the backing of those involved in motorcycle training and that of the Road Safety Officers Association.
It's an excellent idea. It should have been brought in years ago, and it's going to be far better than the old one, where the rider just wobbled round the houses.
There is universal agreement that the new test is a good idea, but next year's training proposals are considered to contain a major flaw.
Unfortunately, the government do not intend to set up a register of riding instructors. They've had to do it for car driving instructors because they wouldn't police themselves, and they really have got to do it for the motorcycle world as well.
Car driving school instructors are rigorously tested before becoming an approved driving instructor. They have to sit a written exam, a driver ability exam, and an instruction ability exam, all 3 of which have to be passed before being allowed to teach pupils. The importance of good tuition is paramount on today's crowded roads, and if that's so for cars, surely it's essential for bikes. Now, you may be forgiven for thinking no one's yet suggested that motorcycle instructors should be controlled and registered. Terry Phillips has recently attended several meetings at the Department of Transport.
Yes, and it was only at the last meeting that I found out there was not going to be a register of qualified instructors. I find that quite frightening, really, because it means that the people who are out there training new motorcyclists to ride motorcycles have no qualification whatsoever. And, of course, we end up with the blind leading the blind. The only way that we are going to go forward in the training world is to see proper qualified instructors doing the job.
Pull away.
The Ministry of Transport says, although we do not propose a register of motorcycle instructors on all 4s with that for car drivers, we do intend that there should be regulation of those entitled to provide compulsory basic training for motorcyclists. Only bodies approved by the department will be able to offer compulsory training.
Now change back down for the gearbox, slow the bike down.
Under proper supervision, training can be a lifesaver. Pupils here are taught how to accelerate, change gear and brake before even being allowed to ride on the ground. Handling ability, the highway code and advice on clothing are all taught and assessed before pupils are allowed to ride on the public roads. Only when they are seen to be safe and confident will they be allowed on the highway, and even then only under supervision. These are the minimum standards needed for the mandatory training of motorcyclists.
If we are going to have compulsory training, then it's absolutely essential that we have a register of instructors. The instructors have got to be trained, they've got to be qualified, and they've got to be responsible for the standards of instruction. We can't afford a situation where youngsters could be going out and getting killed.
But whatever the caveats, it must be a good idea to separate the job of learning how to control a vehicle from that of negotiating it along our crowded public roads. And if the logic holds true for motorcycles, it must be true for cars as well. So our very best wishes to Early Drive and schemes like it.